out there. I am your host, and I am back, and I am Jessica Koch. That's right, the host of Profound Professionals. It is the interview series that has been coming to you for 8 years. And we bring to you globally, we search the globe for these experts that can help improve your personal life or help you grow your business. Now, today we have a very, I'd say, dapper and handsome, but also very smart Dr. David. You may prefer Dr. Sands. It's much more professional, but I'm going to go with Dr. David because I like it. And he is an accomplished healthcare and financial leader. I think this is a kind of an exciting combo. He helps you strategically with experiences in healthcare and life sciences. So he has this mind for all of these brilliant topics. So welcome, David.
Thank you, Jessica. It's wonderful to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me.
You feeling a little deja vu? Sometimes it just feels like we need to do this one more time. So today has been one of those days. We are going to explore the journey of how, and it's kind of interesting. I've heard a little bit. I had a sneak peek. You guys haven't heard it yet. So pay attention close and let's hear about your journey of how you had got all of this experience in education and what led you down the journey of both healthcare and finance and life sciences and how that all blended together.
So I started my career, and Jessica, thank you so much for being on your show and being part of your network. So I started my career purely as a scientist, working in the laboratory, designing molecules, looking at cells under a microscope. And it was one day that I was in my laboratory back in Switzerland that an American entrepreneur that was launching one of the devices that I had in my laboratory asked me, "Would you come to the US to present the data that you have?" And I was very excited. And I told him yes. So he invited me to one of his conferences that was launching in Annapolis, Maryland. So Annapolis, Maryland,
not far from me. It's very close to me.
Yeah, that I visited in the US. I gave my dissertation, and I was invited to basically come to the US as a scientist of national interest. And the rest is history. I started working with a large pharmaceutical company. Then I was recruited by a fund to run a small biotech company that was sold to another pharmaceutical company. And in 2009, I had the opportunity to join an investment bank. And since then, I've been in banking for the last 2 decades.
Okay, so how now is banking and healthcare and life sciences connected for you, or is it anymore? Are you just solely focused on banking? And who are your clients in the banking space? Is it mostly investors? Is it hedge funds? Like, what are we doing in the world of finance?
So our clients are biotech companies that are looking for funds, and we are the bankers that put together the financing for these biotech companies. So I still
Okay.
work with a lot of biotech companies. I still do a lot of work in biotech, and I'm fascinated how fast the biotech industry has grown and how many new innovations we have to help
Mm.
patients. So our job is still the same. That is ultimately to have patients to access innovation, access new medicines, and treat cancer and treat diseases better with new technologies.
I love that. And we are talking a lot today, ladies and gentlemen, about health and finances. And you know, I'm in the Italian mother of seven, but I am not your mama. We are not giving you medical, legal, financial, or any other kind of advice. We are sharing expertise and stories of individuals from around the world of what they're doing, what they've learned, what they've seen, what they're up to. Go see a professional if you need anything, for sure. Now, you know what's fascinating when you talk about this subject, the very first thing I think about is 7 kids, remember I said, and 8 grandchildren. And on our seventh, we had the opportunity and we still have it. I have no idea what we'll do with it, but I feel like things are moving so fast that it was a good idea that we saved the umbilical cord blood of the final birth that I had with our youngest daughter, because supposedly potentially it could help in a health issue for future generations of our family or somehow us. So I don't know what they're going to do with that or where that's going, but we still make that payment every month and it's sitting in a bank somewhere. I don't know. Protected and safe. So I think it's just so fascinating. Everything. I think we're going to be living longer and longer and high quality life.
Absolutely. When you look at the history of innovation, it
Hmm.
goes in a small increments, but then all of a sudden you have a complete departure. And this has
Hmm.
happened in the past, where there have been a lot of changes in the quality of
Hmm.
life. And look,
Hmm.
now we can live 90, 100 years. And
Hmm.
obviously, we need to look for what you just said, the quality of life. It
Yeah.
doesn't pay
Not,
to be
yeah.
100 years old
Mm,
and be in dialysis. You want
yeah.
to be
No.
100 and have a very good kidney.
I
So
don't want to be a head in a jar. That's what I
exactly.
think. And I do think we're approaching solutions for, at least it's my hope. This is my thought, my opinion. I'm stating what I think, so don't get upset. But maybe who knows? Some of that cord blood may be a solution inside families to help cancer or other diseases. Who knows? I don't know. I think this is a fascinating idea,
It
and if
could
it
well
could
be.
possibly happen, why not? Why not try?
Exactly. It's a good choice. It's a good decision because you never know. And science grows and evolves so quickly that you may have good utilization of with that cord blood.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest developments are precisely in cell therapies and in regenerative medicine. And
Hmm.
definitely there has been a lot of developments. Hopefully you will not need to use it at the cord
No.
blood, and you will be able to access medicine with molecules. Definitely
Hmm.
having the cord blood accessible is
Hmm.
definitely a plus.
I feel like it's this. This is my, and someone said, well, that works for you in life because that's what you believe. But I'm okay with it because it works for me. So I feel like if you have the insurance, you're never going to need it. If I don't have the insurance, I just might need it. So I feel like, well, we can. So we did. So that was kind of insurance that I hope our family never needs.
Exactly.
So tell us a bit about more about the biotech companies that you're looking to serve and help. Everyone
So
thinks the tech world is Silicon Valley. Are that all your clients, or you're all the way over here in New York? There's tech is happening everywhere, right?
yes, I mean the biotech industry obviously is very prominent in Boston. There
Hmm.
are a lot of startups coming out of that area also in California. So the two major innovation hubs for biotech are definitely the East and the West Coast, and
Hmm.
not as much New York. New York is the center of finance. And I think
Hmm.
that for my kind of career, New York is perfect because it
Hmm.
definitely enables to be close to Wall Street, to be close to the SEC, to be close to FINRA, to be close to all the agencies that
Hmm.
regulate this industry, that protect the investors. And that's what we want. We want to learn everything that is happening. We have to be up to date with all the regulations. And it's a heavy space. It's very regulated. It's highly regulated.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And
I'm surprised you're on the show because I know some people in the finance space kind of completely avoid
of course,
social media and are very cautious to when we send invitations because, of course, the world needs to learn about money. If we don't learn about money, we can't improve here. But there's so much regulation around your industry that you almost have your hands tied behind your back and a bit of duct tape on your lips.
100%. Yes,
But we're
that's
supposed
something
to
that we
figure
will not talk
out.
about. I'm definitely happy to help anyone that likes to venture into this space.
I love that. I love that. So before we move on to the tip that you're going to give everyone today, is there anything else about yourself or your company and the clients you serve that you want to share with us?
I think that having passion for what you do is very important because definitely it is an industry that takes very long hours. And
Hmm.
if you don't bring happiness to work,
Hmm.
work will not bring you happiness.
Okay, well said. Well said. Is that your tip for today?
Yeah, so I think that whatever you do in life, be mindful that you're better off bringing your own happiness to what you do, whatever you are and whatever you do.
Well, my followers and our community that I love so very much hear me say all the time, I choose joy, and I hope they choose joy too. The joy is a choice, yes. Love is a choice. These things we have to choose to do, and in that choice, a great segue into you're watching out there, and we're so happy you are. Get typing. Share with us the causes that are close to your heart, the things that you care about, because if we can inspire someone to give time, treasure, or talent to the causes you suggest in the comments or the one our guest shares today, then we are heroes. We have succeeded. You hit that share button, and we just might really do something good today. You also might help someone remember a cause they care about of their own. And they said, oh, yes, I have not done that in a while. Let me go check it out and see how I can help them. So let's inspire someone to do something good today. Get typing. David, share with us a nonprofit cause that's close to your heart.
So I have always been fascinated with history. I
Mm,
am Catalan. My nation is the Catalan country, and I am a Catalan-born American. And I have always been fascinated with what happened between the Second World War and
mm,
looking back in history on the people and the heroes that gave their lives to fight for freedom, to fight for democracy, and
mhm,
that basically have been forgotten. And there is a non-for-profit organization based in New York called ALBA, stands for the Abraham Lincoln Brigade Archives. I
mm,
think that these are very important organizations. They are not only there to remember these heroes, but by the way, they are still buried illegally in
oh,
Spain, and they are not being returned to the US because Spain
mm,
has not made any effort to recognize the crimes against humanity. So we have more than 20,000 US American heroes that went to Barcelona to fight against fascism that have never been returned. And this is
mm.
a shame. And organizations like the Abraham Lincoln Brigade Archives is there to remember all these heroes that fought for democracy and peace.
Mm. Well, I think that is a beautiful cause, and it's one I've never heard before. So I'm so glad you shared it with us. That's the wonderful thing about doing this and taking this moment of pause outside of ourselves and taking the focus and the light off us and onto something wonderful is we get to learn about the amazing things that are available for us in the world. And I know you know what's next. You've been paying attention. Get typing. If you're an author of a book, if you have a book that inspired your personal life or helps you grow your business, get typing because we're going to inspire people with books too. There is just so many people who say, I read this book and it changed my life. You just never know if the book you suggest and put in the comments or the book David shares with us is going to change someone's life. It might just be the book they really need. You know, they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And that often happens with a book. You have had a book on your shelf forever, you never read it, you come across it, and suddenly you pick it up, and it's because the time is now. The time that it can impact your life the most is the minute that you open it and decide to read it. And that happens to me so many times, I cannot tell you. So, David, share with us a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. You've read a lot of books because I see all these letters behind your name. That all of this knowledge that there's more than one book you read there.
So Jessica, one thing that I really like in life, in everything that I do, is critical thinking. And that's
Mm,
something that I always ask my junior team to be always very critical. I don't, one place that I have very little tolerance is when people don't have critical thinking. In other
mm,
words,
mm,
if you have any conversation, if you are preparing for a presentation, a research, you need to have critical thinking. And to me, one of the biggest authors, one of the biggest critical thinker from New York is an author by the name of Malcolm Gladwell. And as you remember, he wrote a book called The Tipping Point in
Mm,
2000. It's 24 years ago.
mm,
So a month ago, Malcolm Gladwell came back. He took, I think, 4 or 5 years that he didn't write too much. I think that he moved somewhere in Upper State New York, had children, went into the suburbs. So he was quiet for a little bit. But he came back with an extraordinary book called The Revenge of the Tipping Point. And it's absolutely
ooh,
extraordinary. He's a very sharp critical thinker, very critical with social media and what is happening in terms of the viral effects. What ideas go viral? And
mm,
the tipping point was more of an optimistic type of view of these
mm,
aspects of the ideas that go viral. And
mm.
now I don't want to say he turned into the dark side, but he questioned how this has also been negative to society,
Yeah.
how social media has become something that we all question, that we all of a sudden think, um, is this good? I mean, we were expecting, I think that we, in 2000, when we were starting with all this social media, we thought
Mhm,
everything was becoming more information will be better in a ways. And
mhm,
we look back 24 years after, and we're thinking, wait a minute, society today has a lot of problems that
mhm,
have been caused by social media.
mm.
So this free access to information, free kind of
I,
socializing ideas is not necessarily a solution by itself. It can also create many problems. And that reminds me also, this is not part of the book, but if you look at the history of printing, when the printing came available to more people, it didn't create a better society. It actually created a lot of problems. So more access is not necessarily the solution of anything, but you rather need to have more regulation. More access means more information, and that is good. More communication, which is good, but it also requires more regulation because otherwise you see things going wrong all the time.
yeah, well, so I have a different viewpoint, and so I think this is interesting. I think whether it is humans around a campfire sharing a story and passing it on based on how they remember it and how it was passed on to them, or whether we're talking about talking on a can with a string, or the telephone, or radio, or television, or social media, or print, whatever it is, the problems don't come from any of these things. The
Exactly.
problems comes how we choose to use them and
Exactly.
how we choose to see things. So I filter intentionally the negative news. I take an intelligent and take in the information I need to discerningly because I know how it's being broadcasted and filtered to me. But I take in the knowledge I need as a responsible citizen and adult human. But I also choose to use, as you see, social media for the power of good. Because the more people who choose this over other, then we can um, put a blanket over the fire and snuff it out. So I believe it doesn't matter whether it's viral social media, the new brand new telephone, or the brand new radio, or the brand new print in the machine where we put the letters and we run it with the ink. It doesn't matter. It is about what will we put, and it is good. Every book is bound with a cover and a back and pages in between. The message in there can inspire, transform, and love humanity, or it can harm them. And the choice is ours, whether we write it that way or whether we choose to ingest and expose ourselves. There's wonderful music with wonderful message, inspire me, get me going, and other music that is a little bit not so positive, and I choose what I put in my mind and in my atmosphere, and I think we have to raise humans that make good choices.
Well said.
So I don't mean to disagree with you. I'm just, I think, we cannot blame the problems on the tools. We have to take responsibility as a society, as a humanity, as a globe, as a planet, as each individual person, as me. I have to take my own responsibility. But I think these books that you brought to us are brilliant. And I wish I could remember the name of the author, but there was another author who did something very similar on the whole art of negotiation, right? And communication, how we talk. And his first book was, and someone's going to say the name in the chat, or maybe you, it's called Getting to Yes, was the first book. And the second book was Getting to Yes with Yourself. And the author says that was the book he should have wrote first, right?
Right.
So interesting that when a really profound writer who writes an amazing book, it had millions of copies sold. I don't know how many copies it sold. Don't quote me. I'm making it up. But a lot of books sold, very well recognized for his work. And then years and years later, he looks back and goes, oh, did I miss it? I missed me and my youth and lack of wisdom, missed the mark. And I think that's what you're bringing to us too, a very interesting, accomplished, brilliant, critical thinker who's taking a look at all of this with us as a world and saying it was this and it's this. So it's not either or. I think this is a little of both, right? So it's fascinating to watch authors who are seasoned almost examine their own work and come back to us with something new in their mind. They change their own mind, you know?
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how the same author is looking at his own book for
Mm-hmm.
a different lens, a
Yeah.
different situation of his own personal life,
Yeah.
and becomes a new message and develops a new message, a new critical thinking based on all his experience and his observation of 24 years of history that he's been writing. He's been part of it. He's not talking, he talks a lot about also the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when you look at the history where you've been part of, you have a different perspective when with a first-hand experience and first-hand critical thinker. And I think it makes a whole difference when you can see 10 years ahead. I mean, the secret or the gift of critical thinking is to be able to distill what we cannot see with the naked eye, and to basically anticipate for the next decade what is that we should be thinking. That is the most important aspect, because if you think about it, everything that we do in life, we have limitations. We have limitations of time, we have limitations of things we can do, but that ultimately is a limitation of what our brain capacity. In other words, different species have different brain capacity and they have ability to do more or less. And if you think about our ability to do things, it has a ceiling, and is our ability to think. We don't have the mental or the neurons or the systems to think beyond what our brains can process. Now we're entering the era of artificial intelligence with more processing power, with more ability to distill information. And the question is, who's running the algorithms? How these algorithms are going to change the way we think? And that is probably the biggest question. How are we going to manage the coding of these algorithms? How are we going to prompt? Because these algorithms are going to dictate what information we're getting and what information we don't get.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we'll be building new neural pathways in our brain to remember every fact we see has to be verified and checked. So AI in a way may slow us down a bit. It's fascinating when you were talking about this author. In my mind, I saw a cartoon image, even though I don't know what the author looks like, of an old man and the younger version of himself sitting in the park playing chess with himself, right? Essentially, that's what we were talking about with your author. I think all of this is very fascinating, and I think we don't give our brains enough credit. I know people, and I'm not as good at this, that can look at a page and ingest it, speed read. They can train themselves to speed read and ingest information. We just haven't practiced it. If you have to practice, I have I'm pretty good with faster reading, but it depends on what you're reading. Sometimes you have to slow down and really study it, but sometimes it's good to go through it fast and then go back through it slower in different parts. But what I've found I can also do is I can speed listen. So I listen to a lot of trainings and talks, and I put it on the fastest one. And I have to tell you, sometimes it sounds too slow to me. I go in and check the settings to see, oh, I need to speed this up. Oh, it's already maxed out. And my husband comes in and says, "What language is that? What are you listening to? I don't understand. How do you understand it?" But I have trained our brains. If we practice this, we can do so much more than we think.
So funny because I do
Yeah.
the same thing when I see these audio that I can listen to a lot of conferences. I go to a lot of conferences and I
Mhm.
cannot sit there for 1 hour to hear what the guy has to say. If I can compress it in 15 minutes and then you put it at twice the speed of
Yeah, that's as high as they'll let us go 2
perfect.
times. I need a faster one.
And I
Yeah.
think there's something true to what you're pointing, that is the neural networks of our brain keep
Yes.
evolving. And the more we use it, the more we expand our ability to think. The question is,
Yeah.
what are the limits? Because you think about vision, when you put lenses, you can see farther away. When you
Mhm.
hear, you have frequencies that you cannot hear, but you can adapt it. So the question is, what are the limits of our brains?
Oh, I
Because
don't know.
it's very clear that the same as our ear, there are frequencies we cannot hear. With our brains, there are things that we cannot even imagine, that we cannot
Mhm.
even think of. Imagine the 3 dimensions. We can understand 3 dimensions, but now when you put 5 dimensions, 10 dimensions, that
Mhm.
our brain cannot process. Our brain can process 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions. But when you put 4, 5, 10, 100 dimensions, your
I think
brain
it can
is a
learn.
limit.
I think it can learn. I think it will adapt. And I think what's going to happen with AI is we're instantly going to be reminded that, oh, we need to run this through to see if it was AI, a software that tells us, is this AI? Oh, it's AI. Okay, then let me take the main key facts in here that are important to me. Now let me go verify it with 3 valid, credible sources. So we're going, the speed of AI is going to slow us down, is my prediction. Because if we're doing things ethically, legally, medically, things that matter with the facts, you have to know, is it AI and is it accurate? When you find out that it is AI, you have to verify. We cannot trust this information. And I still cannot trust, I still can't parallel park, but I still can't trust my car to do it for me. Okay. So
I think that AI will make us more look the same. It will make us, you, me, and the guy next door will write the same. Will think. It will make us less. Um,
I
I mean,
think
it
there's
will give us
less
more
of a risk
access.
than that than you think. I hear what you're saying, but because the prompts and the questions I ask it and the things I specifically tell it that I want it to input are still of me. And David is not going to put the same thing in or ask it the same question or say, build me this plan, but include this, all the things that we know are our secret sauce from our experience, our history. So as long as we're not asking it generic questions or seeking generic information, it's very, I think, unlikely that we're going to, it's still all going to look very different, I believe.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. In 100 years, we'll see what has been the impact of AI. But definitely,
True.
is a huge revolution. It's like the
It
printing
sure is.
revolution. When you people were able to print the Bible or print any books, all of a sudden you had a disruptive technology where people were able to read, and you were able to create a lot of new ideas that didn't exist before.
Well, I think something else fascinating happens to the world that we have to think about before the AI has been around for a very long time. It's just now front and center in our conversation, and the software has bulleted forward, and now we see it everywhere, identified as AI, even though some of those automations and technologies have been were around and available for a very long time. But the world shifted a few years ago. You know, that thing that happened. You know, I don't like to give it any energy, so we won't say its name. But, about 3 years or so ago, some things happened pretty big globally. And when that happened, I noticed that even in the because I work with a lot of C-suite, the Fortune 1000. I spoke at their conferences. I have relationships with CFOs, and this is a different kind of professional, right? Different. They think different. They run different. They have organization. They're very professional in their presentation, and they don't often mix. Spiritual or energy or frequency and how we're all connected and all these things that and now, since that has happened more than ever in the executive space of the C-suite, I mean, I even taught six intelligences to 40 of Microsoft's executives and did a talk for them because I'm certified in that. And I hear other coaches and consultants who have different modalities of health and holistic and more spiritual than ever, and mental health and mindset is now seeping in the world in a different way. And with that comes this desire as a society and as individuals to be authentic and unique and strong. And so I think that will also prevent us from being a cookie cutter as AI hit right with that, right? So that all happened, then this is now more open in the world than it's ever been in the business space that I've seen in my years. And and then we have AI. So I don't know. I think the progression and the order that it all came is very fascinating, and I think it'll protect us from it being uh, too much like little boxes and little cookie cutter, little a world of information and writing and music and world. I think people are going to insist, even if we use AI as a tool, to insert their own unique personality and authenticity into their pieces and simply use it as a tool. That's what I hope. I think there'll be some of just, fast, easy, get rich, kind of duplication, but that's not what goes viral, right? That's not the message of the world that actually reaches and touches the world. So I don't think we have much risk for it harming us.
I never underestimate the risks. It's part of my job, and I
Yeah.
think that we need to look at history, what happens with new technologies, and
Mm,
pause and think there is a big impact. When we look at generative AI, when you look at all these artificial intelligence creating bugs and creating new
mm,
um, stories and images that are very credible, it,
mm,
it makes you wonder what is the next wave. I mean, there will be good and there will be bad. And
mm,
it's very clear that, to your point, there will be a lot of good things and
mm,
more access and better access and democratization of information will be accelerated. But at the same
mm,
time, you have all these elements of generative AI that will create a lot of disruption also in the negative way. And that is where I think that will only propel more regulation, more putting limits to what can be done, what is acceptable, and
mm.
what is not acceptable, because
Oh,
it's
sure.
clear that the Wild West is not
Yeah.
good for anybody. And at
Well,
some point,
everything enters the world in a state of wild westness.
yes, yeah,
Is
technologies
that a word?
enter.
Is that a word? Wild westness.
Yeah, I mean, we're all marketeers. At heart, we all want to market our new technologies and want to be discovered.
Mhm.
I mean, when Columbus came to America, came here to conquer a new world and did a lot of harm, to be honest.
Yeah,
So
true.
there is definitely no free ride outside with no risks. There are risks. This
True.
technology has a lot of benefits, but also brings a new framework. And with that new framework, there are new risks. Minimizing or ignoring or not being aware of the risk, it's part of the problem.
Yeah, and you're right, that's dangerous. I think my light and gift in the world is to guide and encourage people to use it as a tool and in a positive, healthy, wonderful way, to transform the world better. And I think it's, people with expertise like and knowledge like you is to also share with all of us, these are some of the dangers and here's how we can avoid them as a society, as a culture, as a planet. Here's how we can, keep this, harm from occurring, how we protect it. And as you said, it's Wild West right now, and some of that will develop over time. And unfortunately, some of it will develop because people make some bad choices with it, and then they immediately have to be addressed and stopped. Um, but in the meantime, I'm doing all the good I possibly can with it and having a lot of fun with it and enjoying it and learning new things. Um, and now we have gone, really in our own direction here with AI because it's an exciting topic and interesting, and clearly to both of us. So, is there anything else, about you or your business before we start talking about? We mentioned we might discuss some of the writing you've done in your lifetime, which, the biggest piece, I believe, is your thesis. You want to share that a little bit, or is there anything else about your business before we, start wrapping up our show today?
Yes, I mean, in my experience as a scientist, you have to read tons of papers. And to
Hmm.
your point, AI today is wonderful because it can summarize with bullet points. And so I had to write a lot. And I mean, I was writing my dissertation without AI at that time. So you had to read papers, I mean, very carefully, very slowly,
Hmm.
understanding the terminology. And now all this has been accelerated, which is a blessing. And my experience writing, it's very painful. Writing a book of understanding, putting the right framework, putting the right structure. It took me a very, very long time. And I have no desire to write any other book. So I'm happy to be a consumer of a lot of information, but it has never been in my wildest dream to write a book.
Hmm.
I
uh,
find it very, very difficult. I mean, it's very, very tough to write a book that people can read.
mhm.
It's a whole skill. Telling the stories is not easy, and you're a very good storyteller.
Well,
uh,
thank you. And actually, I have written some ebooks, some online
oh,
courses. I'm
there
going
you
to
go.
do some more nonfiction eventually with some of my expertise. But what I'm most excited about is I've started a series of 7 fiction novels, historical fiction, and they're based in New York.
Wow.
And some of it's covering, the original in the early 1900s as immigrants came over on the boat and some things. So,
Oh,
but I am not using AI other than for minor research, and we're cross referencing everything. Everything is being written, and researched, and I mean it's very intense. Where, the
mm,
librarians have been helping us. We're pulling documentaries. We're pulling. It will take me over a year, to outline all 7 novels and just write and complete the first novel. But
amazing.
yeah, I mean, of course, you could just tell the ChatGPT to write this novel with this idea of the story I have, and out it would spit. But for me, that's not enough. I want it to be, a piece of me and a piece of history, real history. And so I'm doing the research and the work, and I'm also learning, as this is my first fiction novel series, the proper structure of a story and how to blend characters. And I'm doing my homework and reading the books. Matter of fact, I have them next to me. There's a stack of them, of, other experts in that field who have written, the hero journey story and how to structure that properly and fuse that into your characters. So, I still think even with ChatGPT, people will want their their masterpiece, their legacy that they're leaving, a gift that they're bringing. When a story has such a close space for them, I think they're going to do it the right way. At least this girl is. I'm going to do it the right way.
Wonderful. And it's wonderful to see you as a real person with all the reality that is beyond wonderful. I mean, it is wonderful to meet people in person and to have
Hmm.
this human connection.
Hmm.
ChatGPT and generative AI will never be able to surrogate. So
Hmm.
definitely there is a wonderful element when you meet the individuals personally and you get
Hmm.
to have this level of interaction that we're having now.
Yeah, I agree. And on that note, David, it has just been so very lovely to have you on the show and to learn about you and your experience and what you're doing in the world is very important and exciting.
Likewise, you have been a wonderful host, and your show is magnificent. And it is wonderful to see somebody like you that has been able to raise a family and still
Mhm.
being so active and so engaged. I mean, it's absolutely outstanding. Congratulations. You are a
Well,
superwoman.
thank you. My husband thinks so.
Well,
I am a lucky girl too. He's 26 years of just
congratulations.
the
That's
most
amazing.
wonderful life and love. So good. He lights me up like a Christmas tree. I say all year
Wonderful.
for till forever. So it's very very good. Um, if you're out there and watching, and I know you are, and you're thinking, wait, I'm an industry expert. I could improve someone's personal life or grow their business. I need to be featured and get on this show. Well, I say, come on, just reach out to us and our team, and we'll send you the directions and just how to be on the show so that we can feature you. David, we're not going to let you get away without sharing with our audience as we close out today a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration as we go.
I think that my final thought is about humanity. We really need to have critical thinking.
Mhm.
Uh, Humans have a very bad history of violence.
Mhm.
Um, we have a very bad history of rage, and everywhere in the work setting, in the families, um, we need to do better. I mean, when I see the cases of domestic violence,
Mhm.
especially in cases where there's a catastrophe, and you were talking about this event that happened 2 years ago, where
Mhm.
people were in the house, and another woman were sleeping with the person that was most violent next to them and the biggest threat. I
Mhm.
always think we need to do something because we have seen violence this being the biggest destruction of quality of life, of human progress. And I'm wondering what is we need more critical thinking to go to next step in a society that can do something about violence and can do it at the smaller space in the house with
Mhm.
children, with spouses, and do an effort, make an effort to make a difference on what is our role and what is our legacy and how we're going to connect with humans. Because there is something that without respect, without candor, without being careful with each other, nothing, we will make steps backwards, not forward. And it all has to do with these micro little elements of life that we use other people for our own rage. We get violent with our colleagues. These there are things that are completely unacceptable, and I'm wondering what can we do? How these artificial intelligence can help us as humans to share values that are of peace, are of respect, and that we educate each other to find mechanisms to vent without being violent and without making other people lives miserable.
Yeah, so having coping techniques is super important. And one of the cool things that did happen when the world shifted is much of the world went virtual and they learned suddenly how to buy a webcam and use a platform where they could virtually meet people. And one of the other things that happened was the workforce uh, put more emphasis on mental health of their employees. And now more than ever, there is much more virtual help for these fans, especially for people who are still telecommuting into their job for those families and those couples to have resources for mental health and counseling and all of this virtually and incorporated in with their company now, where that would be unheard of. It was never before. And that is one of the positives, if you can call a positive, that it converted as this shifting happened, because shifting has happened in how we operate as a society, how the executives of companies thought and said, oh, that would never work. Oh, no, we'll never do that. We'll never do that because that's not our place to get involved there. And now it's their place to get involved there. And they're stepping up. So it's not fixed everywhere. It's still a concern. I hear what you're saying, but I am hearing about programs and things, positive things that are happening that I never heard of happening before.
You're an optimist by birth.
I am.
A natural optimist. Which is good. We need more vision like you, more optimism among ourselves. I completely support that.
I have really respect and everything you have shared with us, and I really have enjoyed. I'm married to a New Yorker, and I'm an Italian girl, so I have to. If I didn't argue with you a little bit, I didn't like you. This has been a great show, everyone. We are so glad you followed, shared, liked. We hope you'll come next time. And until our next show, I'm still your host, Jessica Koch. This is Profound Professionals. Be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.